When you want somebody gone and you don't want to wait too long, call the immediate murder professionals. Hand grenade or cyanide will make it look like suicide. The immediate murder professionals. We do our job so well because we come straight up from hell. We'll kill your husband or your wife, we'll even let you keep the knife. We're the immediate murder professionals. Kids die for free.
Hello, you're listening to Storytelling Saga, the podcast that shares stories. I'm your host, Allie, and this week I'm discussing Helluva Boss, created by Vivienne Medrano, aka VivziePop. I've been excited to discuss this series since I started watching it last August, so it's been an entire year. I purposely held off because I wanted to wait until season 1 was finished, and then as we know, there was issues with the season 1 finale, so I'm excited for when that eventually comes out, that bonus episode. That'll be a lot of fun. But as I'm recording this now, I just finished watching the season 2 premiere. Season 2! If you know, you know. And so the whole reason I started watching this show is because I'm a big fan of Richard Horvitz, of course, the voice of Moxie on this series. He's also the voice director. And I saw him tweet about it a long time ago, and I thought to myself, oh, I gotta check that out. And then I finally got around to watching it. And my first thought when watching the pilot was, oh, wow, these are some absolutely amazing character designs. And then my second thought was, okay, which one is Richard Horvitz's character? Because that's probably gonna be my favorite character. It's too funny. And actually, though, I do love Moxie, but I think, honestly, Blitz is my favorite character. Blitz, the O is silent, played by Brandon Rogers. And I've since become a fan of really all of the actors behind this show, because they are so fucking talented. They just are, like, there's so much chemistry among them when they all get together, and they have the live streams and the Q&As that are on YouTube that you can check out if you haven't already, because they're fantastic. So, like, everyone on this show, props to them. And props, of course, to the amazing artists from Spindlehorse, that entire crew, because, my goodness, you can feel all of the passion and hard work that goes into this series, and it really is some truly utterly gorgeous animation, so I can't say that enough. So props, of course, to Vivienne Medrano for this fucking awesome show. I know, of course, she's also the creator of Has Been Hotel. I haven't checked that out yet because I'm purposely waiting. I'm gonna, like, I know it's just a pilot right now on YouTube, and the series was picked up. It's in production with A24. So I plan on checking that out when the series eventually comes out. So I'm excited for that as well. But just with this show, how it could just be summed up as horny demon assassins. And though at its core, of course, it is a workplace comedy, as Blitz says in the pilot, that they are a family, like whether Moxie wants to admit it or not. They are a fucked up family, so that's just so funny. And I have to say, for a show that its setting is in hell, and it's about demons and murderers, that it's not a dark show in terms of, it's not like a nihilistic show. It's a very upbeat, really fun, joyous series with some utterly beautiful music. Obviously, such gorgeous songs and performances, especially from Stolas, you know, Bryce Pinkham, who plays Stolas, especially in this latest episode too. I gotta say, his voice just, like, gives me the chills. It's beautiful. And of course, he's on Broadway too. Like, a lot of the voice actors behind this series are Broadway actors as well, so they're just so talented. Like, the talent on this series can't be stated enough, everyone who works on this show. So for me, like, watching this, I've rewatched it a couple of times, the series. Even just now, I rewatched the episodes to discuss them now, because I just, like, watch them every, I don't know, when I'm in the mood. It's like, oh, let me just rewatch some Helluva Boss. And it still makes me laugh, like, every time. It's just so fucking good. I really love the characters. And Blitz, to me, since he is the main character, I do find him to be the most complicated, in the sense that we see what he is driving toward, like his vulnerabilities of, like, yes, he's like this loudmouth, brash character, and, like, he likes to just kill people, you know, and he's so fucking funny, but, like, at his core, underneath it all, he is very lonely, and you could tell he's, like, harboring guilt, and he just wants, like, what everyone wants. He wants love and intimacy, and it just seems like he just, like, needs a good hug, you know, and he needs a good cry, which we see in the season 1, part 1 finale, you know, like, when he breaks down crying when he sees that old picture of his mom. So clearly there's something there where he's harboring some kind of guilt with whatever happened to her, so that's very tragic, and that will be interesting to see. But then, of course, how it seems like with this show, even though each episode's like an episodic show where you could just watch each one on its own, that like the underlying plot of this series seems to be like between, especially with the season 2 premiere now. Season 2! Alright, I'll stop the gag, but it's more fun when it's with the group, obviously, with the voice actors doing that. But that the overarching thing seems to be like when it's going to be that they finally truly find each other, Stolas and Blitz, because so far it's like, you know, they just have the whole deal where Blitz fucks Stolas and then just to have the grimoire, have the book so that they can go to the living worlds to kill people. And then obviously we see with Stolas that, like, you know, how his marriage was like it was never based on love to begin with, that it was an arranged marriage. And oh my god, like I'm stumbling on my words. This is what happened because, you know, I had some wine before this, so apologies if this episode's gonna be a fucking shit show, but you know, what better episode than with Helluva Boss? But goodness gracious. But in all seriousness though, honestly, how like with Stolas and with Stella, voiced by Georgie Leahy, who's again is fantastic too. I've seen a lot of streams with Georgie and Morgana Ignis, who plays Sally Mae. They're just so cute, Georgie and Morgana. Props to them. Oh my goodness, they're so like, their friendship is so wholesome, and then like, you know, with their characters too, how their characters haven't interacted, but then people ship them too, so that's fantastic. That's a whole other thing with the ships on this show, you know, whether canon or not. But anyway, so with Stolas and Stella, how it was an arranged marriage and that they are just like, you know, it was basically doomed from the start. So then we see Stella's anger, rightfully, that because he cheated on her, but then also they never loved each other to begin with, that she harbored anger even as a child, as we saw. I gotta say, this whole flashback, like the whole flashback sequence with little baby Blitz and baby Stolas, so fucking cute. Oh my god, Blitz like playing with the balloon animal and just like his love of horses, like it's so funny. And of course, baby Fizzarali, I love Fizzarali's so freaking cool too. I love his character design. I love his voice, voiced by, is it Alex Brightman or apologies in this moment, I need to look it up now. Yes, I was right, Alex Brightman. He is also on Broadway. He's Beetlejuice. That's really cool. And how, you know, they were that like little circus act when they were kids. And then obviously the whole thing with like Blitz, you know, how he was once Blitzo, but now he drops the, well, he didn't even drop the O, just the O is silent. I love that. That's so great. But how he was once a circus clown basically, and now he just has this freelance assassination company. So he really just took his life in a different direction. And then we know a little bit that he had a sister, Barbie Wire, I guess, so I'm sure we'll see her eventually, even in a flashback, whatever, so that should be interesting. And even the fact that, of course, he has his adopted hellhound, Luna, who's a fan favorite, Erica Lindbeck, and so far to me, Luna is clearly just, she's all bark, no bite. You know what I mean? Like, she's always angry and pissed off at Blitz, and how, like, she's pissed off the fact that I didn't need you then, asshole, I don't need you now. The fact that he adopted her, and that she claims she doesn't need him. But then we see that she is lonely herself because she doesn't have any friends, and she tries to flirt with that guy Vortex, voiced by James Monroe Eagleheart, who also voices Ozzy, you know, Asmodeus. He won an Oscar. No, not an Oscar, pardon me. He won a Tony for playing the genie in Aladdin. I saw that years ago with him in the original production. Fucking amazing. And now he's on Hamilton, so again, another amazing performer. But with her in particular, I know with the season 1 finale, like the episode 8, that was more focused on Luna, so we'll see that eventually. So currently it's just like that friction where she claims she doesn't need Blitz, but then you can see that she needs some kind of outlet. Like, perhaps eventually, I'm sure her and Octavia, they certainly could get along in terms of their dads are fucking fucked up, you know, so they could bond over that. So that would be interesting to see. Octavia, of course, who is Stolas' daughter. I don't know why I'm explaining. I feel like if you're listening to this episode, you're a fan of the series, so I shouldn't be giving the exposition. I'm sure you already know. You know what's funny is that, this is a slight tangent, but I recently read something about the series Tuca and Birdie, where Lisa Hannawaltz, the creator of that series, said, "This is a show by perverts for perverts." And I feel like that statement applies to Helluva Boss in the best way possible. Because horny demon assassins, horny owl, so I think that's the same thing. Except with this show, though, yeah, there's profanity, and yeah, there is a lot of violence, a lot of blood and gore, but there's still so much heart to it. That's truly what I resonate the most with this show. That, again, there are layers to these characters, like with Blitz, like I said, and of course with Moxie and Millie, how fucking adorable they are. Eminem, oh my god, they are so cute. Millie, of course, voiced by Vivienne Nixon, and I love their dynamic. They are so damn precious. They're almost too damn precious. What's funny to me is that so far, in my opinion, it seems like Moxie and Millie could handle IMP entirely on their own. We see in that Spring Broken episode where they're just running around shooting people, just killing people, and then Blitz is arguing with Luna and everything, and how it just seems like they could just entirely do things completely on their own. Like, it's clear that Blitz needs them more than they need him, So that'll be interesting to see if and when they choose to leave IMP, and if Blitz truly loses everything, how is he going to build himself back up? I think that'll be interesting to see, because we also see that they have a lot of enemies so far, with, of course, the cherubs, those little fuckers in heaven, and, of course, with arguably the most intimidating antagonist in the series to date, with Stryker, voiced by Norman Reedus. God, he's so slimy and yet so suave, and oh my goodness, how he just one-ups Moxie, and gosh, he is an interesting character, of course, because of course we know that he was hired by Stella to kill Stolas. When she's screaming on the phone in front of Stolas, I don't care who you have to go through, make it happen, So I don't care who you have to go through, make it happen, So I have to imagine it's just so cathartic to scream your fucking head off in a recording booth, There's a lot of screaming in this show. I'm sure for Brandon Rogers too. I don't know how they do that without losing their voice. I lose my voice all the time just doing this podcast. So, I find it impressive is my point with that, because my goodness. Blitz screams so fucking much, mostly directed toward Moxie. And actually, so far, for me personally, my favorite character dynamic on the series is between Moxie and Blitz, because there's so much friction there in terms of Blitz always screaming at Moxie, belittling him, but then saying, when he says, "Oh, I'm hard on you because I know what you're capable of," when he, says that in that Truth Seekers episode 6. And obviously that episode has some absolutely stunning animation, not just the fight sequences in that episode, but obviously the songs in that one. In particular, I love the Moxie's, Blitz's trip, but also Moxie's bad trip, the whole Phantom of the Opera sequence, and that part when Moxie's singing, "My lungs are full of honesty, won't you promise me that you won't judge," part of my voice, but that moment where he just draws his fingers into his hand, and the movement of the clothing, the details in that shot alone to me are stunning and beautiful. But then seeing Blitz, how he is the Phantom in that scenario, wearing the mask. So, what is he hiding, And then, of course, in Blitz's whole fantasy nightmare sequence of Moxie kind of mocking him, saying, "Oh, it's rather unfortunate, sir," "Are you afraid that we're going to leave you one day as well?" So, well, Moxie says, "Oh, it's you crave intimacy and yet you fear it." It's rather sad, really, when you think about it, because he needs to learn how to be more vulnerable. So far what we've seen of Blitz and Stolas, we see that Stolas sees Blitz as a plaything, but we see in this latest episode now, the season 2 premiere, okay, I can't help it, that Blitz, we saw he had his dream of, he's gonna have a bit, have an office, whatever. It's too funny. He was gonna run his own circus. Obviously that did not pan out, but that still could. You never know. So, and he's like, "Oh, maybe I'll give you a job one day." They're so freaking cute when they're little kids. Oh my god. I always love stuff like that, because the bigger eyes and the little voices, so damn cute. I just want to pinch their little cheeks, but and also how Stolas was just kind of smitten with him right away, took a shine to him immediately. and how his life was all set up for him, though, that he was going to marry Stella, and how sad that was, though, because we see how unhappy they both were, obviously, and how that then went to Octavia, and just, of course, her being a teenager now, that she is just kind of this lonely person as well, and just kind of isolated in her feelings, in terms of, we see in the present with the two of them, like, with Stella screaming at Stolas, and then, like, when she's crying, then saying home doesn't feel like home anymore, and then she's afraid that he is going to leave, and then he says that will never happen. And of course, like, the flashback opening that episode with Lululand, love that episode, of the utterly gorgeous, beautiful song that is still my favorite song to date, but I really love all the music in this show. I mean, of course, I love also Bone Town, Vacate to Bone Town with Verosika, love that song too, but I mean, to me, nothing beats the utter beauty of the first, I think it's the first song, I think he said Sam Haft is the first song that he wrote for the series, You Will Be Okay, Stolas' Lullaby. I have to say, the first time hearing that song, and honestly every time listening to it, like when I rewatch the episode, it gives me chills. The moment when he sings, and when creations go to die, you can find me in the sky upon the last day, and you will be okay. So beautifully performed, such beautiful lyrics. It's such a comforting, sweet song. Him holding little baby Octavia, so cute. The tears in his eyes then when he just lulls her back to sleep. The song has made me tear up when I've listened to it late at night, trying to fall asleep myself. It's just such a warm, beautiful song that makes you know deep down, like, I'm inclined to believe him, that you will be okay. Like, it's just such a soothing, utterly beautiful song. And again, the beauty in this show, that it can be like this profane, over-the-top, ridiculous humor, which I love too, but then also these really gentle, sweet, heartwarming, and then these heartbreaking moments too. So that's just gives it so much depth and so much beauty, and I love that. And then of course you got like Vacate to Bow Town. Love that song too. So great. And the whole thing with Verosika too, and like how we saw that, like, glimpses of that with her insulting Blitz, and that how he used her basically, and then like them all insulting him, like Moxie when he says, is she blind, suffering some form of brain damage? I love that line.
Ugh, I wasted so much time with a bag of holes like that.
You know Verosika Mayday?
Huh? Oh, yeah, her. Yeah, we dated.
Was it before or after she became a pop star?
You dated a pop star!
Okay, why are you all acting like that's such a shock?
Hello, it's Verosika Mayday.
It's you? Is she blind? Suffering some form of brain damage.
Okay, look, you are all making this into a way bigger deal than it needs to be. I don't pry into your stupid personal lives.
You do that
totally
all
do
the
that.
time, sir.
What was sex with her like?
Billy!
What? It's a pop star. You'd want to know what sex with Michael Crawford was like.
Touché.
I know, of course, Richard loves the line, a human called me a possum. I am not a possum, drunk Moxie. How can you not love drunk Moxie? And like, I love the part when Millie saves him, like he tries to high-five her instead, like when she's trying to save him. So ridiculous. Oh my goodness. But Moxie and Millie are so adorable. And obviously they, so far in the series, have the most stable, beautiful relationship, like a solid foundation where they just truly, purely love each other. That's it. They are this unit, and they're so in love. And of course, like Moxie, how Millie knows how to like really pick him up when he's down, like the whole episode with Stryker, and then she says like, honey, do like what you're good at, like, to like kill these motherfucker, like when he says like, oh wait, I'm not good with my hands, she's like, oh right, like, with his gun. And like they just are great support to each other, and him singing to her all the time is so fucking cute. Like when he sings to her in Aussies, and then they get pissed off saying this is about lust, you gotta sing about kinky stuff, so, but then he's just saying I love you, like it's so cute. And also like they're so adorable. Like I love this, that whole scene is beautiful too, the animation, but like their glowing yellow eyes, I find that really beautiful too. So like the animation in that too, as in like the colors, it's so beautiful, and again capturing like that beautiful sweetness. And then of course you got like great scenes like with them swinging around when Moxie saves her in that Cherubs episode, and then like they're just intensely making out, all tongues, swinging around, killing shit. I love that too. That's fucking amazing. So god, they're so adorable. And then of course, so with their wholesome sweet relationship, that then of course Blitz is obsessed with them to an unhealthy degree. Like, it has this weird infatuation with their relationship, which we see, of course, in the pilot, really, when, like, you know, he's stalking them in their house.
What you dreaming about?
I was dreaming my parents were being murdered, but now I'd like to go back to that.
And, like, he's seen them fuck, and he followed them to Ozzy's in the first place. That's why he, like, invited Stolas, just so he can get in. And there is that moment in the Truth Seekers episode when he says, like, when he gets pissed off saying, oh, you're always worrying about Millie when she's always right fucking there, or whatever. Like, she's always 5 fucking feet away. It's pathetic.
I'm just worried about Millie. She'll be on her way by now, I'm sure.
Ugh, she'll be fine, Moxie. It would take a roided-up hippo to take down that woman when she's upset.
We've never dealt with the human government before. She's in danger.
Do you ever honestly shut up about Millie? It's always, oh, how's Millie? I can't tonight. I'm hanging with Millie. I'm so worried about Millie. And she's always 5 fucking feet away from you. It's pathetic.
That was oddly personal.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know why the fuck I just let my guts spill like that.
And it's one of those things where he's clearly jealous about their relationship and what they have, and because that's what he wants himself. So hopefully, as it seems, that it'll end up like him and Stolas will find that eventually, because currently they don't have a healthy dynamic. They're really both just using each other, because, like, you know, Stolas just really loves getting off from him, and he just uses him because he needs the book. And he's like, when this happens, like, it's okay, like, you know, as in when they're post-coital, you know. And there's the whole thing, like, when he gets tongue-tied around Stryker, it's like, oh, well, it's a transactional fucking, you see. I love that phrase. What a fucking great phrase.
We're just visiting for the festival. The prince is our boss's boyfriend.
Millie, I am not above hitting a female in front of her daddy.
Boss, huh? Oh, so you're the bold imp that started his own killing biz.
Yeah, well, when you're good at something, you should probably capitalize.
Not many imps start businesses on their own. That's pretty impressive, sir.
Oh. Yeah, it is. I guess it is, isn't it?
So you even conned that ditzy blue blood into getting you to the surface?
Well, it's long and complicated, but the short answer is yes. But he's not like, you know, we're not doing what's between, it's a transactional fucking, you see.
I do also love in the season, you know, episode 1, season 7 episode, when he, like, reluctantly flirts with that bouncer guy just to try to get into the club.
You know, you have really nice eyes, Daddy. You fucking prude!
And also, like, when he is, like, you know, pretending to, like, he has the little toy things of Moxie and Millie. He's like, oh, you're so great, sir. It's like, yeah, well, let's have a 3-way, whatever. Like, fantasizing about them. Like, Jesus Christ.
Oh, Blitz, you're such a good boss. Yeah, I really want you, sir. Me too. Let's 3-way. What?
Why, hello, my big-dicked Blitzy.
What the fuck?
Dad!
Language, everyone. I have a special request.
Oh, look, I just had a chemical peel, so you'll have to find someone else's face to plant that feathered ass.
It's for my daughter.
Ah, well, make sure she washes it.
No. I'm taking my daughter to Lululand, and I was hoping you brave little imps would accompany us.
We're assassins, not bodyguards, okay? Don't invite us to shit unless someone's gonna die.
I'll pay you.
Pay me what?
Money.
Done! Eminem, get in here! We're going to Lululand!
Lululand?
Lululand!
Lululand!
That's my favorite Luna moment so far, because not even on screen, she's just so pissed off, so stupid, so funny, oh my god. I do also just really love the world building in this show. The fact that there are all the 7 rings of hell, and that, like, there's the Wrath Ring where Moxie and Millie are from, and, you know, the Lust Ring. Like, that's really fantastic. All of the 7 deadly sins. I think that's really clever. And so many wacky side characters too. I love Wally Wackford. He's such a loon. He's fantastic. And then, like, he's just so funny with that fucking mustache. Jesus. Gosh. And I'm also really looking forward to seeing more Sally Mae. So far, we've just seen a little bit of her, like, she just had a few lines in the Harvest Moon Festival episode 5, and from what we just saw with that, she's just very sassy, just like doesn't give a shit, just kind of like, a little bit of sibling rivalry with her sister, very teasing. So I'm excited to see more of her giving Moxie shit, like that's her brother-in-law, so that'll be fun to see. And also, like, the representation in this show is great. The fact that she is trans, the fact that also I believe Moxie is bi, and I know Blitz is confirmed to be pan, so there's just so much great stuff in this show. And Blitz has so many fucking hilarious lines. Of course, another great one being, let's go lick some ass.
Bye, and don't worry, we'll get that skank in less than 24 hours or your first kill is free!
When did we start implementing that deal?
When you set fire to my office in front of a client, you fucking dipshit! Now someone please tell me that fancy book is still intact!
You mean our only ticket to the other side? Yeah, got it.
And that's why you're my favorite, Looney. You get a tweet now.
Ew, stop.
Oh,
You're so gross!
stop it. I get enough of that from my therapist. Now let's go lick some ass!
The expression is kick some ass. Blitz.
Mine's better.
Oh, fuck.
I love that. It's so ridiculous, my god. And so far, like, in the latest episode 2, seeing that whole flashback of how it came to be, of basically Blitz really just using, like, there was no, like, he didn't plan on sleeping with Stolas when he went there. He was just focused on stealing the book, and then he only did it then because, like, he tied him up and everything, then he only actually went through with it because then he felt bad when Stolas said, and it's gonna be with my first real friend. Like, he was so excited. He was truly, like, really into it. And so Blitz, so far, it hasn't been reciprocated in terms of he's not in love with Stolas yet. Like, he hasn't gotten there yet, because of course we saw him hurting too, like in the season 1 episode 7, when he says that, don't pretend like this is just anything more than you wanting me to fuck you. Like, he's hurting too. So they both have to kind of I think restart if they really want a real chance, in terms of they have to, like, come clean about, like, Bliss has to, like, come clean about what he's afraid of, what he is, like, holding on to in terms of his own guilt with perhaps his mother, with perhaps his sister, with, like, because we haven't learned that much yet in terms of, like, that'll be interesting to see moving forward. And then with Stolas too, how he has to, like, respect Blitz more in a different way, not just, like, using him for sex, even though obviously he does care for him. Like, that's just who he is. Like, he loves to flirt, but then of course he saves them in episode 6, and then of course they do kiss in that episode. Like, when he's like, I suppose you should want me to fuck your brains out tonight, like, he rewards him like that. He's like, oh yes, then they kiss, and again, all tongue, that's hot. So I gotta say, the whole scene of, like, Blitz just coming on to Stolas though, and, like, that was pretty hot, I'm not gonna lie. So I did just like all the moments of seeing Blitz through Stolas's eyes. I found that interesting too, just like how he just, like, thinks the world of him. Like, he's just so smitten with him. He's just in pure lust with him right now, even though of course there is underlying affection there as well. So again, it'll be interesting to see them really truly actually fall in love, I think, because so far it's just, there is that rift that they both need to work on themselves still, especially Blitz. He has a lot to go through still in terms of getting what he really wants, that real intimacy and just that real, like, affection and everything, because even with Luna too, his adopted daughter, that'll be interesting to see too, with them having a more, because of course they have, like, this, like, it's on paper, like, that's her adopted dad, but right now it's just, she does things out of guilt too a little bit, and, like, just, like, very reluctant, just like, yeah, I'm here or whatever, like, just kind of for the sake of doing it, but, like, she just couldn't really give a shit. She's always on her phone, so she just has that mentality of, like, yeah, whatever, like, I'm, like, nothing better to do. So it'll be nice to see, like, some more, like, affection there in terms of just that relationship growing. And of course with Moxie and Millie, if something ever happens to them, that's gonna be fucking devastating. But regardless, if something does happen, that they'll come back together and they'll be stronger than ever. So I don't even want to put that out there. I'm just saying, I'm just kind of, I guess, thinking about, like, possible things that are going to happen in future episodes. Who knows? But so I'm just excited to see more. I'm excited to see where the plot goes next. I know we're going to see more Octavia, so that's going to be exciting. And we know Sally Mae will be coming back soon. That's exciting too. And I'm sure more villains. I'm sure we certainly have not seen the last of Stryker for sure, so that'll be interesting as well. And just, I look forward to seeing like Blitz truly like be vulnerable and realize that he does have feelings for Stolas, but Stolas, that being said, Stolas still needs to do the work himself in terms of showing a different side of himself and like respecting Blitz in a different way and not just like treating him the way he has so far. Because of course he is hurting too, but so that's the thing, they are both hurting. They both need to come to a way of finding each other in the middle, and really understanding each other, because they can, and I think they will. It's just a matter of taking that time to work on themselves, and then they can become stronger than ever. So that'll be very, very cute. So overall, I am rooting for Stolas and Blitz, Stolitz as their ship name is, but there is a lot of character growth that the two of them need to go through before they can have a healthy, loving relationship. So it will be fun to see as the season progresses. And one other thing I wanted to say about Blitz in particular is that despite how harsh he is toward Moxie specifically, that it is abundantly clear that he would die for him. And that goes for everyone in IMP, of course, with his daughter Luna, and of course with Millie too. Millie and Blitz so far, they have just a very genial relationship in terms of there's no friction at all. They just get along well. Blitz respects how much like she kills and fucks people up, and Millie just doesn't mind Blitz's crazy humor and like even Blitz insulting Moxie, because I think she just knows how he is. Like, she knows he's just like doesn't really mean it. She knows he's not like malicious in the sense that he's looking out for them. And so I like that dynamic too. I think that's an underrated dynamic. That's just a purely platonic and nice dynamic with those two in particular, Millie and Blitz. And so with Moxie and Blitz, how though he is harsh toward Moxie, he would die for him. There was a moment in episode 6 where he's protecting all of them, like all three of them, Moxie, Millie, and Luna, from those who I didn't even mention, those crazy lunatic Agent 1 and 2, those humans who are after them, like, interrogating them about why they're coming to the human world and killing people, so I'm sure we haven't seen the last of them either. They're clearly, they had the footage that they needed when Stolas saved them. But there was also a moment in episode 5 when Stryker points the gun to shoot at Moxie, and that's when Blitz turns violent, and it's like, oh, fuck no, and attacks him and everything. So it's clear that he does truly care for them. He just has a fucked up way of showing it, and it just shows that without them, he really wouldn't have anything. So, that really is his family. So it's just he would die for them, and it is really sweet. So, Blitz is a softie deep, deep down, I think. And same with Luna, honestly. Tough exterior, but soft. And, crying out for help on the inside. Needs a good hug and needs, to be told you will be okay also. So I look forward to seeing more of that, and I know it's going to be so satisfying to watch. And with all that being said, I do have a Helluva Boss story to share. It's been a while since I've shared a short story on this podcast, so here we go. It's called Nice Shot, and I have some things to share about it, but I will say it after I share the story. So without further ado, it's story time. Moxie couldn't pinpoint which was the most concerning red flag he'd encountered upon first stepping foot into IMP headquarters for his job interview. First, there was the receptionist, a hellhound with glowering, judgmental eyes. It wasn't until after he'd been hired that he learned her name was Luna. She'd barely given him so much as a hello, let alone even bothered looking up from her phone. She'd merely sat there, legs folded over her desk, and pressed a button to inform the head of the company that his 2:00 meeting had arrived 14 minutes early. She'd said it in a way that was downright mocking, like he'd already fucked up and he may as well have walked right back out the door. When she did finally look him in the eye, she'd immediately wrinkled her nose. Ugh, you're disgustingly obese. That was the second red flag. Moxie blinked and looked down at his physique, not exactly sure what she was seeing. Perhaps the question he should have asked was, did she always insult every potential new employee who'd made the mistake of answering a job ad for a freelance assassination agency? Okay, Moxie said in return, his tail curling in discomfort. He swallowed and pointed to the closed office door. So, can I? Luna rolled her eyes, sinking her chin to one paw as she gestured to the door with her other paw that still clutched her phone, a blasé look permanently etched on her face. The next red flag came the moment he'd opened the door to his prospective boss's office. The tall imp sat looming over an animal carcass, freshly killed, judging by the acrid smell of blood. He was slurping up a strand of slimy entrails like a fat noodle when he locked eyes with Moxie, who froze, swallowing the knot that had formed in his throat. "Hi," he said, holding up a meek hand. "Sorry to interrupt your lunch, but your receptionist gave me the okay to come in." He finished loudly slurping up the intestine and leaned back in his chair, stroking a sharp claw to his chin. "Did she now? Well, that fucking does it. I'm gonna have to fire her ass," he said, reaching for the phone. "Don't worry, I'll be sure to tell her it was all your fault." "Oh shit, what?" Moxie said in a panic, scrambling for the doorknob. "No, please, I don't mind waiting. I could—" He trailed off when the maniacal imp exploded in laughter. "Holy fuck," he howled, wiping a tear from his eye. "That was good. I can tell already we're gonna have a great rapport. Please, I'm just fucking with you. Have a seat." For a moment, Moxie stayed where he was, regarding this unpredictable imp with his outstretched hand. If there were any glaring opportunity to permanently back out of this obvious shit show of a company, this was his chance. Yet there was something oddly genial about the imp's countenance, not to mention his clearly fucked up sense of humor. And he did really need the money. The job market in hell wasn't exactly plentiful. Stepping away from the door, Moxie took a seat in the empty chair, where the imp walked around his desk, clasping his hands behind his back, evidently ready to be professional. "Now then," he said, "I don't have your resume in front of me. Roxy, is it?" "Actually, it's Moxie, as in that kid's got a lot of moxie." He leaned against his desk, stretching his arms behind him with a flick of his tail, unamused. "Is that the expression you use to explain your name to imps?" Moxie felt sheepishly small all of a sudden. Perhaps this was a bad idea after all. He decided to switch gears. "Sorry, I meant to ask before, but you're Blitzo, right?" "It's pronounced Blitz now," he said swiftly, almost mechanically, as if he had to correct people every single day. The O is silent. Without looking, Blitz reached back and plucked a bone off of the animal carcass, sliding it between his fangs like a toothpick. "Listen, enough tongue fucking, or whatever the fuck it is you do for foreplay." Blitz removed the sharpened bone, licking it clean with his tongue. Moxie wasn't sure whether he was attempting to entice or intimidate. Maybe both. He chucked the bone over his shoulder, where it clattered onto his desk. A twisted grin slid across his face as he leaned forward, draping himself over Moxie, who could only stare up at him, wide-eyed and attentive. "You ever kill anyone, Mox?" Moxie shrunk down in his seat. This was yet another move in this increasingly dangerous chess match of an interview. Either he lied and said he had, or he told the truth and risked being dismissed before he could even get started. "No, I haven't," he said at last, ultimately deciding the truth was the best option. Refusing to let himself get rejected, he quickly added, "But I'm great with weapons. Guns, knives, grenades. I can hit any moving target. I'd be happy to demonstrate." "No need," Blitz said. "You're hired." In hindsight, that should have been the biggest red flag of all. Who in their right mind hired someone on the spot without any follow-up questions? Admittedly, Moxie had been far too stunned and relieved to learn he'd actually gotten the job to press on the matter. "Really?" he asked. "Yeah, I'm building a new reputation here, and I need as many good assassins I can find," Blitz said. "Plus, turnover rate has been high lately. Apparently ex-employees had a problem with my management style, or whatever the fuck corporate bullshit they want to call it. But fuck them, I'm the boss, so it's either do as I say or get fucked, right?" Moxie tensed at the realization that this guy was in fact his boss now, and everything he was saying wasn't exactly reassuring. All he could do was trust that he hadn't made a horrible mistake in accepting this job. "Right," he said, forcing a grin. Blitz's eyes narrowed, as if seeing right through his bullshit. "Let's get one thing clear right now. I don't need you kissing my ass just because you work for me. If you want to tell me to fuck off, that's your prerogative. Just know that if you fuck up on the job, I have every right to destroy you." Moxie exhaled, dropping the grin. "Of course, sir." Sir, Blitz repeated. He tapped a claw to his chin in contemplation. I like the sound of that. All right, to bring you up to speed, there's a client who's been breathing down my neck to kill some sick fuck who tried to blow up a school, but we haven't been able to catch the wily piece of shit. We? Moxie asked. Oh, right, there's another imp on the team, Blitz said. Her name's Millie. She can be excruciatingly cheerful at times, but she's a cold-killing bitch. Sounds great, sir, Moxie said. I look forward to meeting her. The intercom buzzed, and Luna's deadpan voice filled the room. Hey, that lady's calling again. Blitz slammed a hand to his desk, sharply scraping his claws against the wood. God fucking damn it, this bitch is relentless. He pressed a button to respond. Tell her we're gonna kill the motherfucker today. Without missing a beat, he crossed the room and opened a cabinet, where he took out a rifle. What do you know, Moxie? Looks like you're gonna get a chance to prove yourself after all. He cocked the rifle and tossed it to Moxie, who braced himself as the weapon collided into his chest, crushing his small frame. He coughed, limbs shaking, though he managed to steady himself and rise to his feet. Actually, sir, he said, voice strained. He gently placed the rifle down and reached into his pocket, withdrawing a pistol. I think this will do just fine. Blitz whistled, and for the first time in this entire interaction, Moxie could tell he genuinely impressed him. Look at you carrying a loaded gun, he said, promptly scooping up the rifle and returning it to its holder. He grabbed a smaller firearm for himself, along with a pair of machetes. Let's have at it. He flung open his office door and strode out. Moxie followed, quickly slinking past Luna's desk while she scrolled through her phone. Mills, let's go, Blitz said. We're finally going to murder that son of a bitch bomber, and we've got a new recruit to help us out. Ooh, a new recruit? How exciting. Yeah, we're on a deadline, so chop chop. Speaking of, these are for you. Blitz handed her the machetes, which she accepted and proudly held above her head, slicing them through the air before tucking them away. She giggled, a sprightly sound that shot directly to Moxie's heart. He stood there spellbound, gawking at this pretty imp with a toothy smile and an intoxicatingly joyous demeanor that gravitated him toward her. Moxie extended his hand. Hi, I'm... His mind went blank. He cleared his throat, dropping his hand as he felt his face flush. Sorry, I'm Moxie. And you're Millie. That's a really lovely name. Well, shit, ain't you sweet, she said, taking it upon herself to grab his hand and revive his abandoned handshake. Pleased to meet you, Moxie. I like your name, too, and I really like your bow tie. Oh, he said, a flustered grin stretching across his face. He never wanted to let go of her hand. Thank you. Holy mother of fuck, Blitz said, breaking apart their seemingly endless handshake as he stepped between the two of them. He glowered down at them, vehement and authoritative. I'm gonna need you both to keep it in your pants right now because we've got a target to slay, and I'll be damned if I have to deal with this nagging client a second longer. Let's fucking go. Now. Looney, hold my calls. Can you please leave already? Luna asked, her eyes never leaving her phone. Your voice pierces my skull. You're a peach. Bye, sweetie, Blitz said with a grandiose wave. He grabbed Moxie by the shoulder and shoved him out the door, though Moxie didn't mind at all, as he kept his gaze on Millie the entire time. If he had any remaining doubts about whether this job would be a good fit for him, all of those worries seemed to melt away simply by being in Millie's presence. He decided that whatever happened from this point forward, it would all be worth it, because at the very least he'd gotten to meet her. Don't worry, she whispered as they walked down the hallway with Blitz several feet ahead. Blitz is not such a bad boss once you get to know him, and the job can be a lot of fun. I think you're really going to love it. Moxie was too dumbstruck to say anything. All he could do was smile in appreciation, inclined to believe her. Fucking piece of utter shit, Blitz shouted breathlessly, nursing a gunshot wound in his upper arm as he sprinted through an abandoned warehouse, boots pounding against rickety floorboards. Satan forbid the earthly authorities could have taken out this dipshit and saved us a trip to this godforsaken shithole. Sir, are you sure you're all right? Moxie asked, running alongside him. I could call for help. There's no time, Moxie. We need to assassinate this asshole so we can get the fuck out of here already. An onslaught of bullets had Blitz screaming and ducking for cover. Millie held up the machetes to shield herself as a bullet ricocheted off of one of them. Blitz stumbled, his injury overcoming him as he doubled over and groaned. Both Moxie and Millie rushed over to him, but he clenched his eyes and waved them off. Go, I'll be fine. Just finish him the fuck off already. Millie grabbed Moxie by the wrist before he could dwell on it, leading him to a secluded corner of the warehouse. They took a moment to catch their breaths, while Moxie's thumb fumbled with the trigger of his pistol. Another bullet shot out at them, and they both winced and threw their arms around each other without even thinking about it. An unsettling silence followed. Moxie willed himself to open his eyes and look at Millie. She was trembling, though not in fear. There was a spark of rage in her eyes, a bloodthirst for vengeance, and an insatiable need to end this fucker before he could hurt anyone else. Moxie was struck then by an overwhelming need to protect her, even though he knew she didn't need protecting. After all, she'd not only expertly dodged every single bullet that had flown her way, but she'd led them both to safety and had made it look so easy. She was extraordinary. He'd never been in love before, but he was pretty sure this was what it felt like. Wait here, he said. This time he cocked his gun without any trouble, a fierce look of determination crossing his face. He rolled out of their hiding spot and sprang back up, clutching the pistol tightly in both hands as he crept forward while eyeing his target down below. The man had stopped shooting, though he still had his gun raised, looking for something to kill. Moxie narrowed his eyes, calmness washing over him as he held up his pistol, aiming it directly between the target's eyes. He pulled the trigger. The bullet whipped cleanly from its barrel and struck the man in the forehead. His body fell backward, blood pooling from the back of his head, the sound of the gunshot echoing in the silence. Nice shot. Moxie's heart quivered. He turned around to see Millie stepping out with a dazzling grin on her face. She dropped her machetes and ran up to him, throwing her arms around him once more. You killed him, Moxie, she said, voice filled with pride. You fucking did it. I did, didn't I? He said, his head swimming, unsure if it was from the rush of adrenaline after his first official kill, or the fact that this beguiling imp was in his arms. It was probably the latter. Fuck yes, excellent work, Mox, Blitz cheered. We're all gonna get hammered tonight. In spite of all of the absolutely insane shit that had just happened, Moxie couldn't help but chuckle. He and Millie pulled back from their embrace, both smiling as they stared at each other warmly. His hand reached out before he could stop it, smoothing a strand of hair away from her pretty eyes. He was overcome by how desperately he wanted to kiss her, but he restrained himself, knowing it wouldn't be appropriate. After all, they were co-workers, and they'd only just met. It wasn't until much later that he learned she'd wanted to kiss him right then and there, too. He'd slept extremely well that night, a smile on his face and a note with Millie's number on it resting closely to his heart. He decided once and for all that IMP certainly was going to be one incredible place to work. Alright, that was nice shot. So a couple of things. First off, I wrote this when I had only seen the first 5 episodes of the show, because obviously in episode 6, Moxie says how, when I first joined the company, you told me I did a good job and that you were proud of me. And I feel like you wanted to say something more, but you didn't and whatever. So I don't necessarily think this is the way Moxie joined IMP. I just think it's like one possible fun scenario that I just felt compelled to write. And I also don't think that's necessarily how Moxie and Millie met. But again, we don't know that yet. Maybe eventually we'll see a flashback with that, which will be cute to see. But I think it could be more possible that they met, fell in love, got married before they joined IMP. But again, who knows? We'll see. I just like the idea of Moxie meeting everyone at IMP, getting hired on the spot from, Blitz hiring him on the spot after just one question, and then meeting Millie, just being love-struck immediately, love at first sight with her, and then him having his first kill all in one day. I just like the idea of that. I know no Stolas in that episode in the story, but I was just focusing on Moxie because I love Moxie. Moxie's so cute. I do love the bow tie too. And also I used just another little fun fact. I used a variation of the word fuck 22 times in that story, so I know it could have been more. And actually another thing, just another little behind the scenes fun thing to share. That wasn't my first time reading that story. Usually what I do is I read it through cold, I just read it through, and then if I make a mistake or flub a sentence, I stop and I just read it again. But in this case, when I first read it, I kept messing up so many times because I kept saying Blitzo, because I still spelt it with the O, because it is still spelt that way, just, the O is silent. So I'm sure in the scripts they have to have it without the O, because otherwise they'd be fucking that up all the time, I'm sure, because, God, that's hard. So I kept messing it up, and then I kept making myself laugh trying to quote-unquote play as Blitzo, like trying to, listen to me, Blitz, and try and just take some kind of play up a little bit of that chaotic energy that he radiates, so that was my attempt, whatever. So hope you enjoyed, and I really look forward to more of this show. Again, props to everyone who works on it. It's an amazing show. I really hope to interview some of the people that work on this show, so I'm gonna plan to do that and reach out and hopefully get some of them on this podcast, because I'm just so in awe of the people that work on this series. They are so talented, and I really can't wait for more. And so maybe I'll discuss each episode as they come out. We'll see, but for now, maybe I'll wait till season 2 is done. I don't know, but so for now I'll just say fucking great show, awesome characters, beautiful animation, and let's go lick some ass. And with that is going to conclude this week's episode of Storytelling Saga. You can follow the podcast on Facebook and Instagram at Storytelling Saga, as well as on Twitter at Storytell Saga. You can also send me any questions, comments, or writing prompts by emailing me at storytellingsaga@gmail.com. Next episode, I will be celebrating the 25th anniversary of South Park. Until then, thank you for listening, and remember, write what you love.
Oh, what a thrill when the crimson starts to spill, and my Millie goes in for the kill. She takes away my breath, she's the angel of death for me. Oh, Millie, she's the queen, it's like a dream. When I hear her Vivienne start to scream, in and out of the sack, she's the maniac for me. Oh, Millie, when the blood starts dripping down the walls, and the bodies start to fall, my heart skips a beat when my Millie's guns are blazing in the heat. My assassin love, she makes the murdering fun for me. A-la-da-dee, of all the imps in hell, it's for her that I fell. Oh, Millie. Are you fucking filming us right now?